Good morning. Um, I don't see anybody live just yet. Um, we'll get started here. Good morning, Reverend Ugin Doshin Yamada here, and welcome to the Animal Liberation Temple, Dobutsu Kyoji, where we are at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the ancestral and seized land of the Yokuts, Karkin, Confederate villages of the Lishan, Ohlone, Miwok, and Miwok-Ma people. We recognize them, the legacy of violence, settlement, and the displacement of the people who suffered and survived. Good morning, Neil. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Facebook Live. We are also live on YouTube. Good morning, Dr. Rebecca Gooley. Thank you for tuning in on our YouTube Live. We'll start with the updates of our temple first. We have had cloudy days recently, so it's a little rough on our solar, but we're tending to do okay. You can probably see the sun just came up like literally 2 minutes ago, past the clouds. It's still pretty cloudy, but like the sun's actually coming through now, so that should be good for our solar. As you all know, gas prices are up everywhere, so it's really hard to run our generator recently. So that's some of the things that we're battling with as we continue our fundraisers. The roof still needs to be finished on the temple. That's just something that's going to probably be on an indefinite hold, as some other things need to be addressed first. We are again without our second camera, and I am also noticing our lighting is completely off right now. So if the lighting doesn't look as good, it's because my lighting's not working. My Stream Deck, which is how I control the lighting, the different cameras, the sound, our monitors, things like that. It was working perfect this morning. I got everything set up really early this morning, and then 15 minutes before I needed to start service, I came and checked on everything, and it's completely not working again. So that's an issue, also indefinitely. I don't know when we're going to be able to fix that. That also causes me to not be able to run my second camera, which the second camera is also needs a new battery to run that system. So unfortunately, our tours are on hold, and our tours would be on hold anyway, as we have some residents here that I can't be showing on camera right now. And that's, like I had mentioned last week, that's just something that our temple is able to do, is take on high-risk animals. But all the more reason why, funding is really important for us. We're still funding for our truck to finish up paying that off, as that is something that's just hanging over our head. Excuse me, well, it's hard to see all of my updates, as like I said before, I am trying to work through this without my Stream Deck here. Otherwise, our things are going well here. Not many other updates, nothing dramatically bad or dramatically good. Just things seem to be moving forward well. Lots and lots of animal care to do every day. We have some new residents and some other fosters that take up a lot of time to care for. But let us move into the resident updates. We have all of our duck friends who are doing super good. Breve, Greve, Amanda, and Renee are duck friends. And then we have our dog friends, Lucy and Bernard, who are doing really well. Our goat friends down the hill, Rob, Matt, and Phil, are doing really good. Our tortoise friend Miyachi is doing really well. Our turkeys, Priya and Harriet, are doing well. And then we have all of our Cornish chickens, the roosters, Jax, Jimmy, and Edward, doing really well. And then all of the hens, Poppy, Aster, Ivy, Azalea, Peony, Cynthia, Lotus, Magnolia, Sage, Marigold, Camilla, Hydrangea, Holly, and Zinnia, all doing really well. And then, of course, we have the hens in the main area. Glennis, Gwen, Alice, Rebel, and Mariah, all doing really well. And then, of course, all of our rooster friends in the main aviary, as well as in the bachelor flock area. They're all doing really well. And that is Sabrina May, Hard One, Elton, Magnus, George, Victor, Brad, and Kuru, all doing really well. And then our guinea fowl friend, Wendy, is doing super good. Our mourning dove friend, Sequoia, is doing well. Our rat friend, Hasu, is doing well. Our pigeons, FP, Champagne, Tulin, Sasha, Yo-Yo, Petey, Ricky, Sparkle, Spencer, Shambles, Beluga, Beth, Pee-wee, Cascade, Augustus, Rufus, Harper, Elliot, Snickers, Boba, Kismet, Farah, Angus, Pandora, Jones, Sin, Lago, Fred, Tremonto, Halo, Van Capone, Percy, Pacino, Lacey, Sasha II, Dora, and Endora. All of our pigeon friends doing super good. And then, of course, we have our 3 foster ducks also doing really well. Oh, good morning, Susan. Thank you so much for tuning in live on YouTube. I really appreciate that. And good morning, Jenny. So good to see you again, too, tuning in live on our Facebook. I really appreciate that. So we will move into the next part here. Sorry, again, I'm just switching on my computer because I don't have my Stream Deck working. We now would like to recite the prayers, sutras, and vows to our dear animal friends. These prayers are of great and auspicious benefit to all who hear these prayers. We ask that you have your companion animals nearby or in a place where wild animal friends can hear these prayers intended for them, even our dear insect friends. And we'll start on page 4 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book with the recitation of the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra. I really hope it's not too dark for folks. Like I said, my lighting is not working right now. I've got one of my lights turned on. I don't know where the other one is. Maka Hanya Haramita Shengyo Kanji Zai Bosatsu Gyojin Hanya Haramita Jiso Kengo Ungai Kudo Wisei Kuyaku Shadishi Shiki Fuku Hui Shiki Shiki Zokuze Kuku Zokuze 重業式薬部尿税サリシ税小北 天道無足行涅槃三世小仏へ般若波羅蜜多高徳は徳たら三百三宝で高知般若波羅蜜多世代真宗世代妙宗世無常宗世無等道宗の道一切空真実不可故絶般若波羅蜜多種族絶種圧逆て逆て腹逆て腹そう逆て同時そわか般若心経願わくはこのことこもてあまねく一切に及ぼし我ら投資者富な友の仏道Animal Liberationの上善こと地方三子佛子孫菩薩佛子孫菩薩摩訶薩摩訶法者ホロミWe now recite the refuge prayer in Tibetan and English, page 8. Sangye chodam soki chanam la janju patu techni gyep suji Daki jinso gyepe sonam ki drola pendra sangye jupar sho. The Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly of the Sangha. Until I attain enlightenment, in these I take refuge. By my practice of the 6 perfections, may all sentient beings attain the Suda Buddhahood. We now recite the 4 great Bodhisattva vows, Shigi Seigan, page 9, in Japanese and then in English. Shujo Muhen Seigan Do Bono Mujen Seigan Dan Omon Murya Segan Gak Botsudo Mujo Segan Jo. However numerous sentient beings, I vow to enlighten them all. However inexhaustible my delusions, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the dharmas, I vow to master them all. However endlessly enlightened the way, I vow to follow it fully. We now recite the 6 vows to our dear animal friends, page 10. However numerous my dear animal friends, I vow to liberate them all. However diverse the methods of animal liberation, I vow to support them all. However unheard their voices, I vow to speak out for them all. However painful and inexhaustible the methods of suffering, I vow to bear witness to them all. However infinite the cages and tanks, I vow to empty them all. However difficult animal liberation, I vow to achieve it completely. We now recite the 100-syllable Vajrasattva purification mantra. Om Vajrasava Maya Anupalaya Vajrasava Nopa Jisatre Dome Bava Sita Shome Bava Supa Shome Bava Anurata Me Bava Sarva Sita Me Prayacha Sava Karma Sita Me Chicham Shri Yam Kuru Hom Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sava Tata Gata Vajrama Me Mucha Vajri Bava Mahasamamya Safaha. So this week, sure a lot of people are following that around 1,500 of the Ridgeland Beagles are set to be released, with already a good number already released from the Ridgeland breeding facility in Wisconsin. As a lot of you know, a large animal rescue group, several large animal rescue groups set, out and negotiated the release of these beagles. So we're all very happy to see the beagles being released. They will have an opportunity to, experience sunshine and grass and a loving family and just love from anybody for probably the first time in their lives. So this in itself is a great reason to celebrate the release of our beagle friends. I know I don't want to fail to mention that these beagles were paid for by several groups. And that is not something I think that as activists and as animal liberationists that we really want to see happen. We don't believe that animals can be paid for because they're sentient living beings. And you can never pay for another living being that is, in itself is unethical, and it kind of leads to the commodification of animals, which many of us are deeply against. But with all that said, I think that there is moments in time where, if the only thing that is preventing us from relieving the suffering of others is, a monetary price, maybe in these singular moments we should do that. And in this specific instance, very extremely wealthy people paid for these dogs, and maybe exists a world where the most wealthy among us, the ultra wealthy in this world, cause a lot of harm through hoarding of wealth and resources, when so many do without. That when these people go out and do something to relieve the suffering of others, I think that should be celebrated. I think that's more aligns with the values that we want the ultra wealthy to be doing, is using their monetary wealth to relieve the suffering of others. And often that is what our complaint is with the ultra wealthy, is that that they're hoarding resources and wealth and not distributing it. And this is a case in Ridgeland with these specific beagles where the ultra wealthy stepped in and relieved the suffering of others. And if for that reason alone we should be celebrating it, even if it goes against our own ethics. We can't pay for an actual sentient being. They're not for sale, of course. But I think that that's what we should be doing. Neil commented, I read that there was one specific payment of $1 million made for the release. No idea if this is correct or not. There's a lot of mixed information going out there. If you watch the original press release, they said over and over they couldn't disclose the exact amount that was paid. But during that press release, they did mention that less than $1 million was paid. So that's better than a million or over a million. That is an awful lot of money for a lot of us to even comprehend. This temple has never seen anywhere near that much. And we could do so much good with that type of money. And for these ultra wealthy people, $1 million was nothing. And it went to something really good. It went to relieving the suffering of others. It's exactly what I would have done with $1 million would go to the sanctuary here and expand our areas and enable us to rescue so much more individuals. And that's exactly what they did with their money. Is they rescued individuals, and for that I am thankful that was done. I don't want to see the movement move into that direction. I don't think we should ever be, moving into the direction of paying for individuals to be released, especially from other activists, especially from folks who really have the mindset that you can't buy an animal, you can't buy a sentient being. Sentient beings are not for sale. They have their own autonomy. They have their own individual characteristics that are just absolutely not for sale. And so I don't want to see the movement move that way. I don't want to see other activists think that that's a viable solution. But when individuals step in and do this kind of thing, I don't think it's helpful to disparage them. And I think we should be encouraging, folks who have a lot of money to, do good with that money and to, spread that resource out to help relieve the suffering of others. This is actually not what I had planned on talking about this week, but I do think that it's an important topic. I think we need to acknowledge that, this specific campaign didn't end. That's not true. It did not go the way we probably intended it to. I think what we would, what I think we had been working at for a decade was getting people in power to condemn this particular place and have them voluntarily release these dogs. And I think when that didn't work, we looked, for law enforcement to get involved. And when that failed, we looked to legislators, and that failed. And when we looked to to the general public to, make comment and to pressure Ridgeland to release these dogs. And when that didn't work, we took direct action. And that didn't work as well. We failed at taking direct action, at least for I want to say the third time we went in there. That failed to get all of the beagles out. And so, but that inspired, folks with the resources to negotiate a release. At the end, we did succeed in getting all the beagles out, but it didn't exactly go the way I think activists wanted it to go, and I think that's worth acknowledging, that it did not go the way that we had tried for over a decade to try to get these dogs out. And I think there was a lot to learn, and I think that already people are looking at places like MBR, which is another facility that's breeding beagles, as well as cats, as well as pigs, as well as ferrets, as well as rodents. And I think that's really worth looking at and trying to figure out how we can free the animals there. I have been doing research and looking at places like the JAX facilities around the country, who are the largest breeder of rodents worldwide for laboratory and experiments. And I think that rodents are often underrepresented in our movement when it comes to vivisection and in our wild rodent friends. They are often very overlooked, and I think that's something that we all should be paying a little bit more attention to, is our dear rodent friends. And I think that that sometimes is difficult for activists. I think fundamentally, most of us activists understand that all animals deserve to be free and unharmed. But when it comes to our rodent friends, maybe we don't think about them as much. And I'd like to challenge and encourage everybody, to this week look up some cute rodent videos. They are absolutely adorable. And I'm not saying you need to be cute to deserve liberation, and think we all know that. But I think it's worth connecting our hearts and to our rodent friends, because they're underrepresented in the animal rights community, that we kind of seek out to bring our hearts closer to their plight. I think that's really important. So, I'd like to challenge people this week to look up some cute rodent videos, or maybe what would bring you closer is to see what happens to rodents in experimentation in labs. What happens to rats when they're poisoned on the street? Maybe that would bring your heart closer. But whatever it takes to bring your heart closer, maybe just sit down in meditation and think about, a dear mouse friend or a dear rat friend, and, keep them in meditation. I know this week I'm going to be spending a lot of time with my dear friend Hasu, who was rescued from a laboratory, and just really try to connect to that energy, that our dear rodent friends deserve, and really maybe start thinking about, how can we pay a little bit more attention to our rodent friends? What can we do for our rodent friends? There's great organizations out there working on, banning rodenticide, to promoting rodent fertility control. There are great organizations trying to cancel and stop glue traps and other poisons, and we really should try to team up with them and see how that can work. Talk to your neighbors. Do they have poisons? Talk to them about the effects of poisons on our environment, on the rats themselves, on all of that. Also, like, glue traps are absolutely horrible. Rats suffer greatly when they encounter a glue trap, and I don't know how many times I've seen insects trapped in these terrible things, and it's just quite an awful thing for any sentient being to go through. So banning these types of things, talking to our neighbors, to remove glue traps, to remove poisons, and to move to more ethical ways of coexisting with our rodent friends. There's great work out there that we could be doing. I think if we research this a little bit, you can see that there are ways of controlling rodent fertility that could be really helpful. And maybe number one is just cleaning up after ourselves as humans. I think as humans we are pretty messy creatures, and we leave food about for rodents, and if we could kind of clean that up a little bit, maybe invest in some rodent proof bins that can discourage large amounts of rodents living amongst us, and at the end of the day acknowledge that they deserve to be here just as much as any of us. And if they decide to make their home near us, I think that's a blessing rather than a curse. So just reframing our mind, seeing rodents near us and around us, that they choose to be with us on this planet, as a blessing. I think that's really important, and I think we need to reframe ourselves that way. I'm just seeing a lot of comments in support of our rodent. My mother, posted an emoji with rats, rabbits, and maybe it's a gerbil, or maybe it's a dog. But yeah, any of them, right, I think are very important to think about. They go through horrible things in animal testing and vivisection, all of which is very unnecessary. I talked about last week that we're living in a technologically advanced world where we have AI, and we have all the technology that makes animal testing obsolete. Not to mention, it's bad science. I've heard over and over this week about how it's just really bad science, that that the drugs that actually pass animal testing, meaning that they were tested on animals, they passed the animal tests, meaning that that they proved themselves to be effective on animals. 90% of them go on to fail at human trials, because simply we're different beings, right? Like, just because we may also have lungs or also have a heart, also have a brain, doesn't necessarily mean that all of those things interact correctly. We know so much more about genetics and how different one small gene can make us, and how that can, these drugs can just be wiping us out if we're not, careful, if we are not doing, the best science. And, I am a believer in science, but I believe in the best science, meaning that, testing on animals anymore is not the best science. It's lazy science, and it's science that absolutely doesn't belong in our modern world, and in a more compassionate and inclusive world. This type of science is absolutely does not belong. There's my rant for today. I am a big supporter of science. I believe in science very much, but testing on animals is not science. It's torture, and it's unnecessary in today's world. So we will continue with our service here. We're going to do the recitation of the Animal Liberation Prayer and the dedication of merit, and then we will have our credits reel. And hopefully soon I'm going to be able to get back to our sanctuary tours. But reach out to me, because I need to remember to post more photos and videos of some of the animals here I can post about, and I probably should be doing that this week. So we'll start with the recitation of the Animal Liberation Prayer, found on page 12, 13, and 14. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are subject to unbearable pain in labs throughout the world, be free of all suffering. May alternatives to animal experimentation, vivisection, and dissection be implemented immediately. May bodhicitta, the quality of compassion that leads to enlightenment, fill the hearts of those who imprison them. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who suffer endless days, months, and years, locked in tiny cages unable to move, be filled with peace and calm. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are forcibly taken from their families, be reunited, and may all families be able to stay together. May the hearts of those who work in slaughterhouses, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends be filled with bodhicitta, so the very thought of harm is purified. May they never kill again, and may the slaughterhouse lines, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends become immediately empty. May no animal be afraid or depressed. May their bodies be free of injuries, disease, and illness. May the mutilation of their bodies be forever ceased. May those who need homes or have been driven from them find shelter, plentiful food, and water. May there be liberation for those tortured for fur, entertainment, or who are hunted. May those who believe that they are superior to our brother and sister animals develop perfect equanimity, and may they realize in their hearts that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, the potential to be completely free of suffering, and that they are not ours to kill or exploit. May the billions of land and sea-dwelling sentient beings who are abused, exploited, and killed due to greed, hatred, and ignorance be free of suffering. May all the nets, hooks, blades, projectiles, traps, snares, cages, pens, tanks, lethal restraints, saddles, reins, prods, bait, poison, and all instruments used to harm, exploit, and dominate our dear animal friends be forever abolished. May all human and non-human sentient beings live together in harmony, peace, equanimity, and achieve perfect enlightenment quickly. May we all experience happiness, safety, freedom, and animal liberation in this very lifetime. And we now recite the dedication of merit to our dear animal friends, page 16 and 17. Throughout our many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue we have accomplished, including this aspiration for peace, and all that we will ever attain, this we offer for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends. May suffering, exploitation, and unnecessary death decrease for every being, while wisdom, bliss, and compassion increase in this and every future life. May we clearly and instantly perceive the plight of our dear animal friends with the urgency and seriousness they deserve, and our every action leads them to complete liberation. May we quickly attain enlightenment and work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Thank you all for joining us on here at the Animal Liberation Temple, where we're at the service of spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. I just want to roll our credits reel so that we can acknowledge all the folks who have contributed to our dear animal residents at the Animal Liberation Temple from the 26th of April to the 2nd of May. Thanks to everyone for liking, sharing, and commenting and subscribing to our social media. Sorry, folks, I'm trying to get this to work here. There we go. Thanks to my Venmo donors, Tani Salazar, Vanessa Ka, and Remy Marine. Thank you so much. And thank you to our PayPal donor, Lama Tashinyama. Thank you so much, Lama. And then, of course, our Patreon supporters who donate every single month. We can't do this work without your help. Susan Fryman, Neil Carmen, Paulina Bradford, Paula Partenheimer, Shannon Hunter, and MV. Thank you so much. Please consider donating through any of our platforms that can be found here at the Linktree Animal Liberation Temple. And thank you all for joining our services for our dear animal friends, and everybody have a beautiful week. Thank you. Oh, and thank you, Jackie, so much for tuning, and All Sunshine 7172. I don't always know everybody's SN, but I'm sure I know you, and you're probably a great friend of mine. But thank you for tuning in live. And everybody have a